Every year, the NFL Players Association conducts this massive poll. I believe most NFL players, if not all NFL players, vote on this poll. Quick update, this is coming from the NFLPA website. We had 1,706 players that voted on this poll. And they pretty much give grades for their NFL teams, and in some categories, other NFL teams as well. These categories consist of treatment of families, food and dining areas, nutritionist or dietitian, I don't know what that is fully, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and the ownership. So yeah, let's go over everything. We're going to start it off over here in the NFC North. And yeah, right by looking at this, you might assume that the NFC North is the best division in football because they have the best grades here. I mean, their worst grade of this entire thing is a C, and that's for the Bears head coach. Obviously, that's going to have a bad grade. I would honestly think that'd be lower. The Lions, Packers, and Vikings all get A's for their coaches. All of these teams' ownership sounds pretty good as well, the lowest being the Lions at a B+. And then you see a couple other C pluses here for the Bears, treatment of families and food/dining areas. Apparently, some teams make their players spend money to get food. That's crazy. Go ahead, pause the video, look at all of these other things. I'm not going to go over all of it. That would take forever. Moving on to the NFC East, this is where it starts to get really interesting. No surprise here, the Commanders locker room comes in at an F. I believe the Commanders were the team that players said anonymously there were rats in the locker room. The Eagles team travel also has an F. And yeah, the Eagles were a team that had some of the worst grades. They also had a D+ locker room. I'm kind of surprised that the Cowboys had a C in training room and training staff. AT&T Stadium's pretty new. I feel like all the new stadiums should have really good training room stuff. But other than that, the Cowboys completely nailed this survey. This is interesting. Brian Daboll got a B+. Turns out that players might like him more than we assume. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the Giants ownership's not good. They get a C+ over there. You guys can pause the video, look over all this stuff right here for a second. But yeah, what I am kind of surprised about is everything else that's good right here for the Commanders. To be fair, their weight room, training staff, and locker room's not the best. I mean, an F, a C+, and a B-. But everything else is good. There's also no stadium thing on here. Moving on to the NFC South, some good grades and some pretty bad grades. The Atlanta Falcons nailed that. I mean, A+, B, A-, A+, A, B+, A+. They just moved into Mercedes-Benz Stadium back in 2017, so yeah, they nailed it here. Fans did not like the Panthers locker room. They get a C there. Their team travel's also bad. It's a D, and their ownership's a D-. The Saints were another team that kind of falls right in the middle. You see some B's, you see some A's. They get a C for treatment of family, but then a D- for food and dining area. This is what's so bad about this. Some teams apparently do not give their players food for free. And I know you might be like, well, these players all make millions of dollars. They should be able to pay for it. It's not about that. It's about the facilities providing food for them after practice and all that stuff. If they have to go out for food every day, then they're probably not going to be eating the best possible food. It's probably not going to be very healthy. But if the stadium can easily provide them good, healthy food, then they won't have to worry about that. And then I think the Bucs were towards the bottom at the very end. A bunch of C's, a bunch of C-, and you even see a D+ for ownership. Pause the video though and look over this. Moving on over here to the NFC West, there's a lot of bad grades in here. I see a lot of orange and a lot of red. So let's get this out of the way immediately. The Cardinals finished dead last in this entire poll, and it wasn't even close. I believe their average grade was somewhere around a C- or a C, which is awful. They get an F- in locker room. I don't even know how that's possible, but they do get it. Their training room's also a D-. They get another F in weight room. Training room, locker room, and weight room is all stuff that's part of the stadium. That is not good. Their training staff does get a C, so that's improved from the F, but they get a D- in dining area. Probably another one of those teams that doesn't give free food. A D+ in treatment of families. If you guys are wondering what that is, it's kind of just like there's not enough suites or something like that for families to be in, so they have to be out in the open, where their safety can be risked by other fans and stuff because they're like the wives and like the sons of like NFL players and stuff. And then they get a D- in ownership. My favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers, killed it. All A's and B's across the board. The Niners' two lowest grades are for training room and training staff, where they both B-. As a diehard Niners fan, I've been at training camp multiple times, and I will say the training is not very ideal. Not by training staff. I'm not sure about the training staff. That's more of the players thing because I'm not actually doing work with the training staff. But at least for training camp in the summer, the outdoor training camp is not the best. There's not much cover. It is so hot in Santa Clara in the summer. And then they do judge this based on everything. And as a Niners fan, I will say, being at those training camps, the music is way too loud. It hurts your ears. I'll be walking by or something like that, and the music is right there next to where all the fans sit. It blocks some of the fans' views, and the walkway is not very wide, so you have to go right next to those speakers, and they are so loud. It's crazy. If you haven't already gotten the chance to, pause the video and look over the rest of the NFC West. First trip over here to the AFC, we check out the AFC North. The Ravens were a pretty consistent team, I think somewhere around the middle of the pack. A lot of B's in here, a couple A's, and a C+ for families. The Bengals were another team that got an F- again. Don't really know how you get an F-. That was for the treatment of families. I think that just like families don't get the first priority in suites and stuff, and they get left with some bad seats. Food/dining is really bad for the Bengals. And then, yeah, their nutritionist is at a C. The Browns receive an F- for their locker room. I actually was aware that the Browns do have a really bad locker room before I was recording this video, but I googled it to see if it was the one with the rats, and the locker room actually looks really nice and modern. I looked at some other teams' locker rooms, and they look very similar. So yeah, that did kind of surprise me when I saw an F- for that. The Steelers, again, were one of the lowest teams on here. They have a D for locker room. They have a D for ownership as well. Their owner actually is really bad right now. Mike Tomlin, the head coach, gets an A. I believe they're the only team in this entire thing with just one A. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, pause the video, look over the rest of this. Moving over now to the AFC East. This is one of the better divisions, single-handedly carried by the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins had the highest report card of any team in the entire NFL, averaging an A+, but it's kind of in the middle between an A and A+, because they do have a few A's in there. So the Dolphins actually have an A+ in everything besides training room and training staff and the treatment of families. An A for treatment of families is like an A+, it's just that one player probably didn't like it. And then same goes for training room and training staff, they nailed it. The Buffalo Bills actually do have an A, so I was wrong about that thing I said a few minutes ago. They have an F- for team travel. What could be so bad about their travel? Maybe the planes get like too hot inside, not enough seats or something like that. They don't have like snacks and food on the plane. Maybe even their hotels when they get there. Their hotels are bad, they have to share a room with a teammate, something like that. The Patriots also get an F for weight room and team travel. And yeah, the Patriots were another team that were really bad. I think they were like second or third to last. The Jets were another team that were really bad. I think they ended like 28th, 29th place. Tons of C's up and down the board, and their ownership's obviously an F. Pause the video to check out all of the AFC East. Moving on now to the AFC South, pretty good overall, just a lot of B's. The Texans were a solid team. They had nothing below a C, a lot of B pluses. We see this with a lot of teams. Their B- is their lowest one, and yeah, we're going to see that with the Jaguars here in a second. The Jaguars are a team that I would assume to be really bad. I don't know why. It's just their franchise isn't the best, and for some reason, the second I think about the Jaguars Stadium, I think of that pool. Or no, it's not the pool, it's the hot tub. Maybe it's a pool and a hot tub, I don't know. But when thinking about that, I just think that their stadium's a disaster. I don't know why. They have an F for treatment of families, but otherwise, okay report card. Players don't like their coaching staff that much, though. The Colts were another average team, maybe a little below average. They had a D+ in team travel. And then pretty solid here for the Titans. A lot of B's, a couple A's, and a C. Their lowest was their locker room, C-. I must admit, I looked up a picture. Their locker room does not look very nice. Pause the video, though, to check out the rest of the NFC South. Finally, we've got the AFC West. The Broncos get an F for locker room. Their locker room in the pictures looks very, very big, but it doesn't look very modern at all. The Chiefs would be a team on here that I would think would have done really well because they've won 3 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. They've had tons of success developing players, but no, their training room's a C- and their training staff is a C. Their weight room's also a C+. The treatment of families is a B-. I honestly would think this is higher. I always see pictures of like Brittany Mahomes and Taylor Swift in those really, really nice suites, even like Jackson Mahomes. And looking around Arrowhead Stadium, it looks like the suites wrap around most of the entire stadium. The Chiefs get a D- for locker room. And then the Raiders were one of the best teams on this entire poll. They ended, I believe, in 4th place. They have the really new stadium, obviously. They have A's all the way across the board besides one B+. And of course, the B+ is treatment of families. And then finally, we got the Los Angeles Chargers. They got a C for treatment of families and a C+ for team travel. Everything else, though, is an A besides this B+ for head coach and B+ for nutritionist. Pause the video and look over the rest of the AFC West. So here are the final grades right here. As I said, the Dolphins are number 1, the Vikings number 2, the Falcons number 3, the Raiders coming at 4, and the Chargers at 5. They had 2 C's, so I'm kind of surprised by that. The Texans are at 6, the Packers at 7, my 49ers coming at 8, the Lions are at 9, the Cowboys at 10, the Commanders at 11, the Saints at 12, Ravens at 13, Bears at 14, Seahawks at 15, and the Titans at 16. The Broncos are at 17, the Jaguars at 18, the Colts at 19, and at 20 you got the New York Giants. At 21 you got the Rams, 22 you got the Eagles, 23 you got the Buffalo Bills, 24 you got the Cincinnati Bengals, 25 the Carolina Panthers, 26 you got the Chiefs, 27 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 28 the Steelers, 29 you got the Jets, 30 you got the Browns, 31 you got the Patriots, and the worst report card in all of the NFL goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Comment down below your thoughts, your reactions, what surprised you the most, what didn't surprise you the most, and yeah, go Niners. I'm wondering what it's going to be looking like next year. So many stadiums are going to get remodeled, all that type of stuff. But thank you guys for watching. That's it for this one, and peace.